In this video, I'll be demonstrating how to create a high contrast image of your front view using Lucidpress. The first step is to go to your Google Drive and to open a new document in Lucidpress. To do this, you can click New, go down to More, and then click Lucidpress. This should open up a new tab, and if you search over in where it says Search Templates, you can search for the word blank print document, and then click on the template for the blank print document. This will also open up in a new tab. On the right hand side of the screen, under where it says document and size and orientation, change the size of the page to A4, which is a fairly standard size for printing, and change the units to centimeters. You should also change the orientation to landscape. Then on the left hand side of the screen, in the shapes menu, you are to insert a square. So when you click on this square here, you'll notice that it will just automatically insert a square. Make sure that you click on the square and so that it is highlighted. And then on the right hand side of the screen in the layout tab, you are to change the width of the object of the square to 9 centimeters and change the height to 10 centimeters. So you can do this by typing on your keyboard once you've clicked into the box. This will represent the real life dimensions of your laser cut candle holder. Next, click on the square unless it's already highlighted, and on the right hand side of the screen in the layout tab under, hang on, I think we've just done that. Next, from the insert menu at the top of the screen, click on the word image. That's here, insert, and then image. Click the plus button to upload and find an image from your finder. I'm going to use this one called Original Photo Scan, and we want you to upload an image of your photo scan. You might then have to look for that image down below. And so I might use this image, and then I'm going to click Insert so that it lands on the document. Now make sure that you've clicked on the image, and on the right hand side of the screen, if we go into the Image tab, remember that we shouldn't have the box highlighted, we should have the image highlighted. What you need to do is click Effects, and then change the contrast to 100, and then click Save. You'll notice that if I flick back and forth between the two, let me just zoom in slightly. If I flick back and forth, you'll notice that this has now gone from a grey object to a white background, and the black has actually become a lot more darker black. And it's basically, there are only two colors used now, black and white. There's no grey and there's no shades of grey in between. But what you will notice is that this image has a little bit of a grain. So this was the original image that I had. It wasn't colored in with a texture. So if you're getting a similar grain, what I would recommend is just hit delete, go back to task 2, grab your drawing and color it in with a texture. Then we're going to go insert image. I'm going to show you my updated photo scan. This is the second drawing that I put in. And I'm going to hit Effects, Contrast, slide that up. And you can see that there's a lot less grain. Okay, in fact, there's probably none. And so I've just given you an example in the document to say what a good image looks like and what a poor image looks like. Now, if you're someone who may have traced a silhouette, instead of using Google Photo Scan, you could just go back to Google and my recommendation would be to import that silhouette. Let's take a dancer, for example, and that drawing should automatically be a black and white drawing. What we do have to check though is the usage rights, that it is labeled for non-commercial use, and I'm just going to pick this ballet dancer. I should then be able to either save this image, or just, if you are working from Chrome, I think this is a bit simpler. You can just click and drag and take it straight into your document. Now what you've noticed with this is that I dragged it into the square, so it's actually cropped to the size of the square. We're going to talk about cropping next, but I would have to uncrop that to obviously make that bigger. Now that's not what I want to use. I want to use my image, and so the next instruction says click on the image, use the square at the bottom, and that's this square at the bottom, to drag that out and make it roughly the same size. I can see that's kind of lining up there, and then maybe just drag that one out at the top so that's roughly the same size. And then what we're going to do on the right hand side of the screen is actually click crop and mask, and if we zoom in slightly, we should be able to crop all of that white border out of our photo. Obviously my lines weren't perfectly straight, although I did use a ruler. Perhaps that's just the way the photo scan came out. Once you've cropped away your border, hit the return key, and then you should be able to just line that up inside the box, and we're just going to make sure that it is exactly the same width. And how's the height? What we can do in the layout tab is check, well actually that's supposed to be 10 centimeters. So turn off this this setting. It should be, if you want to change both the height or the width independently, it should be black. But if you want to keep the ratio so that when I expand it this way, it's the same ratio, then obviously you should have that turned on as blue. So what we want to do is, as I've just done, resize the image to 9 centimeters by 10 centimeters, making sure that it fits within that rectangle. And then right click on the image. What you're going to click is arrange and send to back. And what we notice is that the image kind of disappears. Now the problem with that is because this rectangle is not transparent. So if you click on the rectangle, now I would just unselect everything and just make sure that you're only selecting the rectangle, because you might have already selected that image. Go to the fills box in the shape menu, and then click this where you can see a few little gray squares, which means that the image is actually transparent. And what we want to do next is just put in a bit of a guideline, and that's in the form of a square. What we want is, we want to put in a little box around here to show where to help us line up and create a bit of a screenshot of this. But what you can't get in your screenshot is the outside centimeter. So we're going to leave about a centimeter's border. So if you type in 1 centimeter, you'll notice that the width is now changed to 1 centimeter. But what I want to do, if we do use that padlock and then I change that to 1, notice that it automatically changes both the width and the height. And this will be used as a guideline to help for step 13. With step 13, we are going to insert another square. We're going to make sure that it lines up with our previous. And then we are going to, in the layout tab, again using this padlock, change the shape to 7 centimeters. This will indicate the kind of area that we're going to need for all of our design work to be cutting out. I wouldn't recommend, and what we might do is just delete that square, but I wouldn't recommend doing any cutting into this side, because as you can see with those finger joints, it's going to, if you do cut into here, it's going to take away the strength of your box. But if you stay within this zone, You should have enough strength with your box so that it will kind of work. But again, our design is hidden by this box. So what we want to do is click onto the click onto the rectangle, go to the fills and make that transparent. And then the last kind of instruction for Lucidpress is just to zoom in on this as much as you can. And with Command Shift 4, you're going to take a screenshot, and I'm going to try to just go as close to that box without touching it as possible. See how I go with this screenshot. That looks pretty good. And your screenshot, as it says on this post, now that I'm kind of done with Lucidpress, attach the screenshot to the post on Google Classroom titled Introduction to Graphic Design, and then you are actually ready for task 4.